because we are having some challenges, some tech issues in regards to muting, and more people are joining. At this point, we have, I think, over 183 guests. So I will remind everyone again to please mute your lines. And with that, next slide. Today's agenda, as I mentioned before, we're very fortunate to have Alameda County, the City of Fremont, the City of Oakland joining us to share information in regards to the emergency rental assistance programs in the different locations. And so we will start with Alameda County. Next slide. Today, we're joined by Michelle Sterrett, the Housing Director for Alameda County Housing and Community Development, as well as Monique Berlanga, who is the Directing Attorney for the Tenants' Rights Practice at Centro Legal de la Raza. So, Michelle, if you would please.
Chelsea, I really appreciate this opportunity to talk with you all today about the county-wide big picture, as well as what the county is doing specifically before we then talk about, and then I'll dive a little bit deeper into the county's program, which will then give the opportunity for Fremont and Oakland. I'd like to say thank you to Monique, who's going to be here to help talk about our program. And then finally, I want to apologize. I have to dash out the door about 9:45 because I have to be at the Board of Supervisors this morning because this program will be approved by the Board of Supervisors this morning's. It's item number 15 on the calendar. Yes, okay, great. So COVID rental assistance, as some of you may be aware, in December, the federal government passed a stimulus package on December 27th. It's $25 billion for rental assistance. Jurisdictions with 200,000 or more will receive a direct allocation. Overall, California's got 2.4 billion. It's a lot of money. We got more than anyone else in the country. And it's gonna go a long ways, but not all the ways towards solving the back rent owed crisis that we're in. So what does this look like in Alameda County? There are 3 grantees and 3 jurisdictions that will receive funding. The county will receive funding on behalf of all of the other cities in the county except for Fremont and Oakland, which got their own grants. Overall, it's about $50 million.
Good. We need
Shortly after that, on January 27th, the state passed SB 91. It did 2 things. But the first and most important thing is that it reallocated the dollars that the state got back down again to jurisdictions getting with 200,000 people or more. So what that looks like is Alameda County, Fremont, and Oakland each receiving additional funding, another $53 million. So overall, the entire amount coming from the December stimulus is about $103 million.
Yeah.
County. Sorry, that's what our tenants are going to have access to, $103 million. As I mentioned, SB 91 passed at the end of January. Why is that important? It's important for 2 really critical things. The first is that the governor extended the statewide eviction moratorium to the end of June. Alameda County overall has a really strong eviction moratorium. Our moratorium is in place until 60 days after the public health officer ends the pandemic and ends the state of emergency, which has not happened yet. So our tenants remain secure. However, the state is managing funds statewide, and they therefore needed to ensure that all tenants statewide remain secure through the end of June. What that also means is that the state funding, that extra $32 million that the county received and the other money that the 2 cities received, the state has real strong expenditure deadlines that are part of SB 91 that ensure that tenants are served as soon as possible so that they are not subject to eviction, which puts a bit of a cramp on how we're going to be rolling this program out. We're going to have to go as quickly as possible to meet these state deadlines. The state may choose to extend their deadlines at some point, but it will take legislation to do so. The other really important piece of SB 91 is that the state decided that landlords were not going to get 100% of the funding that was owed to them. They are requiring that all landlords assisted with the state portion of the funds take a 20% haircut, meaning they have to accept 80% of the payment and waive the balance of funding owed to them and agree not to go after tenants for that extra 20%. If landlords choose not to take that 20% haircut, they are only eligible to receive 25% of the back rent owed, which keeps the tenant stably housed through June 30th, but does not solve the tenant's debt. So locally, that's not a program that the County Board of Supervisors was very excited about. And so they're doing what they can, and we're doing what we can to ensure that the federal program rolls out first, where we can spend as much money as possible on that back owed rent. So if, again, we think about the $103 million that is available, there are some pretty strong expenditure goals. The first is that essentially all 100 million had to be spent by December 31st. And so as you can see here, our goal will be to get out about 25 million by May, 45 million by June, 60 million by August, 85 million by September, and then it hit 100 million by December. So within Alameda County, we have 3 programs that are running. There's the Fremont Family Resource Center, who is running the program on behalf of the City of Fremont and tenants and landlords in the City of Fremont. There's the Keep Oakland Housed program run by BACS and several other nonprofit organizations. And it's keepoaklandhoused.org. And then within Alameda County, for all the other cities and the unincorporated county, we're running our program through the Alameda County Housing Secure program, which is administered by Central Legal. Monique is here to talk about their program, as well as several other smaller organizations that are part of an umbrella program that the county created. So what are our priorities? Across all 3 programs, we've agreed on some shared priorities. The first is that we're prioritizing very low income tenants. We're not serving tenants at 80% of AMI in the first 60 days. Extremely low income tenants will be prioritized. Formerly homeless will be prioritized. Formerly incarcerated, those with children, and folks with rents outstanding as far back as last April and May, because their rents are due now with regards to our eviction moratorium. We're also agreeing to support small landlords, especially small landlords who are on Social Security or are retired. Many of them are at risk of foreclosure and losing their properties, and those properties represent the vast majority of their security for future income. And then finally, we've also agreed to ensure that subsidized affordable housing remains strong and healthy, and we're prioritizing that in the first 60 days as well. So AC Housing Secure, our program, is on the Board of Supervisors agenda this morning. It's item number 15. If you have the opportunity to call in and show your support, I think that'd be greatly appreciated. I do think that there is some concern around how we're intending to operate and get this out quickly. And so we'd love to have additional support from this community, from just getting this passed is critical in order for us to start tomorrow. So Alameda County's anti-displacement program, Alameda County built the AC Housing Secure program in partnership with Central Legal several years ago. It's emergency assistance, it's tenant right training, eviction defense, tenant landlord mediation, and fair housing programs. It's a strong partnership. We've served several thousand people over the last couple of years. I don't have that detail. I'm hoping to get it later today for this presentation at the board later today. But it's an important and exciting program. And I'd like Monique to talk a little bit about the program and how we expect that to operate.
Hi, yes, thanks, Michelle. So starting tomorrow, assuming that the board approves the contract today and the agenda item number 15, we'll have a website, ac-housingsecure.org, which will go live and will provide information to landlords and tenants who are interested in applying for to the program for rental assistance. There'll be a tenant-based application and a landlord-based application, and you'll be able to upload the required documents to the application. And on the website, we'll list the different items of documentation that are necessary. If a tenant or a landlord doesn't have all of the documentation in front of them, we still encourage them to apply. We can work with them later to help them gather the necessary documentation. Or if a tenant is unable to provide documentation, we can work with the tenant to provide a self-certification. We will also, in order to prioritize affordable housing developers, we'll have 2 staff dedicated to being liaisons to affordable housing developers throughout the county so that we can help you process your applications at the building level rather than have individual applications for every tenant in your building. So we encourage you, if you are an affordable housing provider, to reach out to us. We'll be reaching out to you over the next week or 2 as well to start engaging in that process. Once a tenant or a landlord doesn't file the application, completes and submits the application on the web portal, we are partnering with several of our Alameda County Housing Secure existing partners, Eviction Defense Center, Bay Area Legal Aid, and we are also going to be partnering with Eden United Church of Christ in unincorporated Alameda County to help us process the applications. So somebody from one of these agencies will be contacting either the tenant or the landlord to help obtain any missing documentation or information, and will be partnering with us to verify the accuracy of the information. Centro Legal will be serving as the approver of individual applications and will be processing payments directly to landlords for the applications. I don't know, Michelle, if there's any other pieces of the process you want me to touch on, that's big picture.
Nope, that's good for now. I think I will have to dash out to get to the Board of Supervisors in a few minutes, but Monique will be on the call and can answer additional questions as we go forward. I have a few other important things to say though, so I'm going to keep going now. So in March, the federal government passed a second stimulus bill, or maybe it was actually the third. It's going to result in additional emergency rental assistance. And the next bill also has foreclosure prevention funding for homeowners. So what does that look like? It's looking like initially there's $27.4 billion for rental assistance, $9.9 billion for homeowner assistance. There's also $5 billion to assist people experiencing homelessness, and $800 million to support school participation of children and youth experiencing homeless. There's money for utility and water assistance. There's money for housing counseling and fair housing activities. So I share all of that with you to understand that, number one, a lot more money is coming. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for helping to get these funds out the door. But it's also going to be really important to understand what assistance is available for your clients, for the people that you serve. So what does it look like to get another $27 billion for emergency rental assistance? The federal government has not yet indicated exactly how they're going to put the money out again. So in the prior one, 200 jurisdictions with 200 population or more received direct allocations. If they do that again, and that becomes their method of distributing the funds again, Alameda can expect to get another $100 million between all 3 grantees. They might choose to put the money out differently. We don't know yet, but I think it's safe for us to assume that on top of the $103 million that we're looking at right now, we can assume that there will be another $100 million. The deadline for expending the next stimulus bill is September of 2022. So how are we working together with Oakland and Fremont? So first of all, we're going to have a consistent countywide messaging. We've issued an RFP. We've selected a marketing firm. They're going to help us have a consistent marketing program. Probably won't be on board until early May, but for the most part, we're in a soft opening phase in March. And by the time we get into April, we'll have marketing materials out that will be very clear. The funding will be available for many, many months. This is not a mad dash, but it is definitely important to get the money out the door as quickly as possible. So consistent countywide messaging across all 3 programs. Central Legal and the AC Housing Secure team will be running application trainings 2 to 3 times a week. Those will be widely marketed. People can just log on. As well as we're about to release a request for information or a request for proposals. I'm not exactly sure what we're calling it, to outreach organizations who will help us get the word out. So one of the important reasons why we asked to speak with all of you is to let you know about this opportunity. We're going to be providing small grants to community-based and faith-based organizations that can help us host application trainings with your constituency. So if you have a constituency that you meet with regularly and you'd like to invite us in to present the program and help people figure out how to apply to the funding, please reach out to us. We will put the RFI out. We will provide it to everyone home and ask that they help support getting it out to everyone. But our goal is to have between 50 and 60 small grants out to community organizations that can help us get the word out. Additionally, we're going to have probably 8 to 10 additional application assistants, people who will get paid to help us complete the application, provide hand-holding services to clients that are having a hard time getting the application completed. We're looking for organizations like yours that want to dedicate a staff person and get paid to dedicate a staff person just serving your clientele. So please take a look at the RFI when it's out. It's actually going to be released today or tomorrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And we're hoping that community-based organizations that serve hard to reach populations will step up and accept a grant to have your staff time covered. Again, here's the opportunities for participation. I just mentioned this. Our implementation schedule, going to the board today. We're having a soft opening tomorrow for the first phase. The marketing contract will be going to the board in early April. Our outreach and application assistance will hopefully be coming on board in April. We'll be having a much more widely marketed program by May. We're going to be then really very closely assessing our expenditure goals and making sure that money is getting out the door from June all the way to December. The AC Housing Secure contract, which includes many organizations, will be our back-end administrator, as Monique mentioned. They'll also be doing the application trainings, and they're going to have 5 application assistants within their contract so that starting tomorrow, there will be people, as Monique mentioned, available to help applications get through the process. And then again, our next steps is the outreach ambassadors. That RFI is going out today or tomorrow. The goal will be to provide small grants to organizations that are willing to host and invite their constituents into some of these meetings in order to get the word out. And then again, we have the application assistance grants. And that's the end of our presentation. We'll hold here for questions at the end. And I'll give this back to Chelsea.
There was one question I wanted to see if you could answer before you leave. Is there one RFI for the outreach or 2 RFIs at the 2 different levels? One.
Supposed to be 1 RFI.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, Monique. As indicated previously, we're asking for everyone to please hold your questions until the end of the sessions. You can add your comments if you have questions in regards to the Alameda County program into chat, and we will raise those up at the Q&A session. We'll now transition to the City of Fremont. We are fortunate to have Robert Lopez join us today. He is the CDBG Administrator for the City of Fremont Human Services Department. Robert?
Thank you so much, Chelsea. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Robert Lopez, and I'm happy to be here and speaking with you all. I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about the federal and state emergency rental assistance programs and what that means depending on the city or jurisdiction. I know Michelle did a great job kind of outlining everything for the county. So we're going to get a little bit more city specific and how it affects you and your clients. Keep Fremont Housed is funded with $7 million from the U.S. Treasury and helps renters get caught up on past due rent or future rent, as well as past utility bills. And I also want to preface this conversation by saying, I think Michelle also touched on this, is that you'll be hearing slightly different details depending on the jurisdiction and their partnership with the state to distribute emergency rental assistance funding. The City of Fremont has decided to first roll out its federal funds on April 1st, which allows for 100% reimbursement of past due rent to the landlord. I'll talk about a little bit more about the state partnership in the next slide. This is our flyer that you'll see. I know it's got a lot of information on it, but what I really want to focus on is the program eligibility for renters, which is standard for most rental assistance programs because it's outlined by the federal government. But our goal is to assist the hardest hit residents in Fremont. So program priority has identified those households who have experienced unemployment for 90 days preceding their application, or have a household income at or below 50%. We also, as Michelle mentioned, they also have a set of priorities. We also have rent burden as a priority as well. Those paying more than 50% of their income towards rent. Again, I want to highlight that the program will reimburse landlords up to 100% of the past due rent, but in mid to late April, we will be engaging with the state to determine how we can utilize an additional $7 million in state funding, which follows the distribution requirement set forth in SB 91. And as Michelle mentioned, and I really like her terminology, that 20% haircut that we ask landlords to forgive and accept the remaining 80%. So those details will come a little bit later, but right now we're focused on getting as many applicants as we can, prioritizing those that need it the most. And that's where you'll come in a little bit. Next slide. This is probably one of the more important slides. This is our communication, our access information. You'll notice that we have our website, fremont.gov/keepfremonthoused. This will include this flyer that you just saw. And with previous experience running an emergency rental assistance program with CBG Cares, we know that we've had to make some changes in how we outreach to the community and how we design our program. The first thing is that we partnered with Bay Area Community Services, also known as BACS, to utilize their application platform where households will apply and upload supporting documents. We're confident that this new platform will be easier for households to navigate and apply. And additionally, we've revamped our website to include a way to sign up for our contact lists, access program information, and access our program flyer and documentation checklists. We have also added translated versions of our flyer in Chinese, Punjabi, and Spanish. Next slide. And now we get into the most important part, how you can help. A lot of your clients are being affected by COVID-19 due to job loss. They're in danger of becoming homeless, and this is the whole point of the program. And we know that our experience in running the previous program through CBG Cares also highlighted the challenges that can be encountered in running a program like this, especially with the type of clients that you see, because we want to engage our hardest hit and hardest to find communities, especially those that have technological challenges and varying language capabilities. So we do ask that we know that if you do have any Fremont residents, that you help notify and encourage them to apply, and also maybe assist clients with application challenges because of those technology and language and challenges. I feel that a lot of the times your clients and our communities are intimidated by the requirements that we set, and we want to make sure that we get them the help that we need, and you're the bridge to that. And among the top challenges is helping the client assemble the necessary support documentation. As Michelle mentioned in her previous presentation, that relies on hand-holding a lot. And we've hired additional staff to help do that and get applications in, partnering with nonprofit agencies to also help us with that as well. And this slide, the next slide, please. This slide shows our documentation checklist. And if intimidation was a picture, this might be it. But we try to offer as many examples as we could to help our clients qualify for our program. You'll notice that there are 4 checkboxes on the required from tenants, and those are the 4 requirements that are set forth by the federal government. And under each one, there's examples of what kind of documentation the client can provide to qualify for our program. We hope that you, our nonprofit partners, are able to guide your clients through the process and help them access the much needed funding. But for now, these documents are available on our website, and April 1st is when we plan to go live. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at the end, and I'll give it back to Chelsea.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you for providing all of that information. I know that there are ongoing questions in regards to what will be available. Just as an update to everyone, after this presentation, we will be making these slides available, as well as contact information for the different locations. So next we will transition to the City of Oakland. Dorcas, can you please change the slide? Thank you so much. We're fortunate to be joined today with representative from the City of Oakland, Cookie Robles Wong. She is with the City of Oakland Housing and Community Department and serves as the Community Development Program Coordinator. Cookie, you can proceed. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Thank you. Michelle, that was great. And also, Robert, as you're going to see, there's going to be a lot of similarities because we have, it's the same money, but we are also meeting sometimes twice a week on coordinating on how to get this money out and how to do outreach. As you can see, we are focusing on the extremely low income renters. Next slide, please. So this is a repeat from the first 2 slides about the money that was received, where it came from, and what our target populations are. Our direct allocation is $12.8 million. Next slide. This is also a repeat from Michelle's slide, actually, is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program is the money that City of Oakland is working with. Also, it's called Keep Oakland Housed. That's the umbrella that we're working under. And the difference between, I guess, a City of Fremont and City of Oakland is that City of Oakland is contracting out to 4 nonprofits to give this money to our needy renters. And they are BACS, Catholic Charities of the East Bay, Centro Legal de la Raza, and Eviction Defense Center. BACS will have the application portal, and so they'll be, the City of Fremont is also using it as well. So all of our applicants will be going through that portal. It will be posted very soon. And then we will be adding additional partners as needed. As mentioned earlier, we will do a check-in with our grantees to see how they're doing by September. And if we need to bring more people on, we will do so. Next slide. So the program goals of Keep Oakland Housed are to serve the most vulnerable tenants, to create housing stability for those at risk of homelessness and experiencing housing instability, to prevent homelessness, and to prevent displacement. Basically, it's to keep people housed, to keep people in their homes, and to hopefully develop housing stability. Next slide. So as similar to the other programs, we all have a prioritization tool, which targets the extremely low income. So these are our 4 tools, 30% of the AMI or below. If they've previously experienced homelessness in the last 2 years, and if they reside in a zip code with high rates of COVID infection, the zip codes, we use the county's dashboard to see where the rates of COVID have been highly impacted. Other priorities include senior citizens, families with children under the age of 18, household with a member with disabilities. Next slide. Here are some eligibility requirements. A household of 1 or more individuals obligated to pay rent on a residential dwelling. And at least 1 or more individuals living in the household has qualified for unemployment, experienced a reduction in household income, incurred significant costs, or experienced a financial hardship due to COVID, and at least 1 or more individuals living in the household can demonstrate a risk of experiencing homelessness or housing instability, and household income at or below 50% AMI. Use of the funds, rent arrears, back rent, based on the prioritization tool. Prospective rent may be paid after that. We can pay for utility expenses or other housing related expenses. Funds go to the landlord or to the utility provider. They may go to tenant if landlord or utility provider refuses to participate. We have a soft launch of April 1st, meaning it may be April 2nd. Also, program information will be available on our website, as well as our partners' websites. The outreach program kickoff will be April 15th. Program funds must be expended by March 31st, 2022 of next year. So I don't know if I need to go into this SB 91. Michelle really covered it really well. The City of Oakland is not, we went for option C. So we will be referring a lot of our tenants to state, to the SB 91 program. Let's see, Chelsea, do you think I need to go through this?
I think it would be helpful, considering some individuals might have joined later in the presentation.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't see that. Okay, great. So there is a SB 91, as most of you are aware, and it was presented earlier, but the State Housing Community Development received $1.3 billion in U.S. Treasury emergency rental assistance, and apportion them to localities with populations over 200,000, including the 3 in Alameda County, Oakland, and Fremont. Oakland's allocation is $13.8 million. These funds are subject to SB 91 requirements. For Oakland, these funds will be administered by the state's program implementers, LISC and Horn LLP. The City of Oakland will not be administering these funds. Just want to make that clear. Next slide. So SB 91 was passed on January 28th. It does extend the eviction moratorium until June 30th, 2021. It establishes a rental assistance program. As mentioned earlier, the state portion of the funds will be 80% of back rent owed by tenants, as long as the landlords waive 20% of the rent owed. And tenants whose landlords do not waive back the rent will receive 25% of the rent owed, protecting those tenants from eviction, but not solving the debt of the rent. Next. All right, thank you. So SB 91, it differs from the City of Oakland's Keep Oakland House program. It's focused on debt relief rather than housing stability. The target is landlords, not tenants. Oakland is focusing on tenants. It has a shorter expenditure timeline than the emergency rental assistance program. And the implementation of the program will largely be conducted via an online portal. So as mentioned earlier, our soft launch is in April, and we're asking everyone to help us get the word out. This is our website. It will be updated within the next 2 weeks. And more information, our flyers, and any and all information will be available April 1st is our goal date. Thank you, and I'll kick it back to Chelsea. I don't know if we're ready for questions yet.
Yes, thank you so much, Cookie. At this time, feel free to use the chat function to add any questions that you have. If they are specific to a location, please indicate that in your request. And Dorcas, if you would please change our spotlight to include all of the representatives that joined us for today's panel so that I can begin to field questions. So I will start with a question that is directed to Cookie. The individual indicates that they work for Operation Dignity, and they were wondering if there'll be grants available to emergency shelters that house the homeless in Oakland.
No, the City of Oakland has a homeless, our Human Services Department, and they actually have another program. So I would direct them to Sarah Bedford.
Thank you for that. Another question from an Oakland resident asking, would they need to apply to both the state and county relief programs for extra support, or just one application from either program? And does one prioritize the county application?
There is, we are working on with our portal and backs to work out a system where they're going to deduplicate, like check for duplications, so you cannot double dip. If that answers that. And what's the second part of?
I guess they were trying to figure out, would one be prioritized over the other? For example, if you apply to both, would the county application be prioritized over the state?
Someone from the county probably want to answer that one.
I think what folks might try to be getting at is, if you are working with tenants, do you direct them to the state, or do you direct them to your local program? And I don't know, Cookie, if you in Oakland have determined who's going to be directed to the state and who will be directed to the local program yet?
The Oakland is going to be referring as many people to the local program first for tenants. That's our focus. So we will let people know about the state program as well. But we are bound to check for duplications with the state and with the other nonprofits that we're working, our partners.
Thank you. There are a lot of questions in regards to obtaining copies of the materials from today. For everyone who registered, you will receive an email with all of the slides and the contact information for the different programs that have joined us today. Alameda County, of course, Oakland, and the City of Fremont. What we will also do, if you haven't registered, you should be able to go to everyonehome.org's website. We will be posting this information there, and on our last slide, we'll also provide some information in regards to how to follow us on social media. So we will ensure that this information is easily available to everyone. There is a general question that's not directed to any location. It asks, is this fund available to those who have mortgages? Clients who are not landlords or tenants?
Take this one. No, they're not eligible. It's only renters.
Right.
Let me add that in Oakland, HERA, Housing Economic Rights Advocates, does have a program for homeowners to assist with their mortgage.
Yeah, and if it's mortgage assistance because the mortgage is providing income and a tenant is behind on rent, then a small property owner can apply directly through the county program, and then we would then contact the tenant for supporting documentation as well. So, there is that link there.
All right. This is a question trying to, I guess, again, figure out logistics. This individual wants to know, the state will, one, match tenant landlord applications that are submitted independently. And I think we did indicate that there is a process in terms of trying to ensure that there's not a duplication of funding. So there will be, whenever there's an application submitted, a checks and balance there. But then there's a question that's asked in terms of, will the state, I guess the county, the locations, notify the tenant or the landlord to apply if the other one hasn't? Will local programs do that?
So is the question, if say for instance, your landlord has commenced an application, will you then be contacted? Will the tenant then be contacted? Yes, exactly. So if a tenant initiates an application, then the landlord would be contacted for their documentation and verification. And likewise, if the landlord initiates the application, then the tenant will be contacted to confirm the details and get their documentation.
Thank you. This is another question for you, Monique. What will be available for the county soft opening tomorrow? Are we just going to receive information and then submit applications in May? Or will people be able to actually begin to submit applications tomorrow?
That's a great question. People will be able to begin submitting applications tomorrow. However, it is a soft launch. All the partner organizations are not fully staffed up yet, and we will be prioritizing, extremely low income, affordable housing, and small property owners in the first initial soft launch phase. But there will be the application portal will be open tomorrow. Paper applications will also be available as well for those who, if you have clients that you work with who may have barriers to technology, please do reach out to us and we'd be happy to send you a packet of paper applications to distribute to your client community.
Thank you. There's a question in regards to, will there be a decision tree so we know when to use ERAP or SB 91?
I don't know, Cookie or Robert, if you want to take a stab at that. I can say that we've been working very closely with 211. Allison, I know that you're on here, to develop some frequently asked question lists to help triage when tenants or landlords call 211 for information, to walk them through that. Personally, putting my advocate hat back on, not my administrator role in this program, I would say until everything is worked out between the states and the local jurisdictions, advocates are advising tenants to apply to both programs. And again, as Cookie mentioned, the programs will be coordinating together to make sure there's not a duplication of benefits.
Excellent.
Yeah, I would agree with Monique on that one. If Fremont residents can apply directly to Fremont, and we'll be partnering with the state and getting all that handled out later.
Fantastic. This question is directed to Cookie for Oakland. Our organization has tenants facing eviction as soon as next week. Where can we apply for rental assistance today?
Actually, you can apply to Centro Legal under Oakland Housing Secure.
Yes, there is an eviction moratorium in place. I can't go anywhere without making sure that everybody knows that, right? So I would say if you have tenants who are receiving eviction notices right now, please do reach out to Centro Legal or any of the partner agencies in Oakland Housing Secure, East Bay Community Law Center, Bay Area Legal Aid, Asian Pacific Islander Legal Outreach, and we can take a look at the notice, help you determine whether it's actually valid, and then whether there might be rental assistance available for that case.
Okay.
And in Fremont, folks can reach out to Project Sentinel.
This question is, I think, directed primarily to both Oakland and Fremont in regards to your programs that will begin in April. There's a question in regards to if there will be any in-person meetings with those needing assistance, and how do renters meet with organizations such as Catholic charities?
Our contractors well, let me back up a little bit. The City of Oakland, we're putting together an outreach team. We're looking to help get the word out, to help our contractors, our vendors, our partners. And we are currently developing flyers, and we'll get those out in the community. And we are looking to hold Zoom website, put something on our website, like something like the presentation I just did today, and also to do Zoom meetings to walk people through the process. That's on the city's part, the outreach team. Our partners will also be doing outreach as well. I hope that covers that question. There's also phone lines as well.
Okay. Cookie, I'm sorry, go ahead, Robert.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to add on for the Fremont side. We will be taking applications mainly through the website, but we will be partnering with some of our nonprofit agencies to assist clients with that technology barrier.
Excellent. Thank you. Monique, did you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Next question is for Cookie. It has someone asked if you could please verify that BACS is one of the partners that City of Oakland will be using.
Yes.
Yes. Next question. If you live with housemates and they have back rent owed, what is considered a household? Would we apply individually or as a house? And that's a very technical question. I know, of course, every location is still trying to work through some of these details. So if we have responses at this time, and I'll start with Robert. Do you have a answer to that question for Fremont?
Yeah, we recommend that people apply as a household, and then we'll go from there and work with the landlord to determine, how much the rent is for each person in the household and how much back rent is owed.
Great. Cookie?
Basically the same, because we will cross-reference the address and payments to the landlord. So that they should apply as a household, because that's how we're going to cross-reference and, so they don't double dip or duplication.
Agreed. Same. Yeah, we suggest you apply as a household. It's a get to yes type of program, right? Approach, and we will work with you to determine to help you calculate your income and determine, your eligibility there. So we encourage you to apply as a household, and we'll work with you.
Excellent. There's a question in regards to how long the application process will take. And so I know that in some of these locations, we're doing soft launches because you're still trying to staff up. But if you can provide any guidance in regards to what the estimated turnaround time will be and what the goal time will be once you all are fully staffed. And I'll start with Monique and then go around the other way this time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a great estimate, right? I think at the soft launch, we can't predict how many applications we'll receive, during the first 6 to 8 weeks. I think that the more complete an application is, the quicker the turnaround time will be. So I know in the past, there have been rental assistance programs which have had very short application windows, maybe a week or 2 weeks to apply, and folks have rushed to apply and have submitted incomplete applications to get in the door. Here we have a longer period of time to expend these funds than we have under the CARES Act or other programs. So I would suggest, for efficiency's sake, if you're working with a tenant to apply, and maybe it might take an extra few days to gather all of their documentation and submit a complete application, it's worth waiting that few days, because then that will help expedite the processing of the application.
Fantastic. Robert?
Yeah, that was a perfect answer by Monique. I think we developed our priorities for sure to get those clients in the door quicker, but at the same time, having that complete application package is definitely the most important.
Thank you. And Cookie, any estimated time frame that you can share in terms of processing?
No, we are still working out some of the kinks on the application portal. I think what I would encourage people to tell either clients or constituents is to get their documents, to start putting together their documents, because the faster that's uploaded, it'll be processed a lot faster.
Great. There is a question that I think probably can go to Monique and her advocacy role. What resources do tenants have who are being threatened with eviction despite meeting the criteria for the eviction moratorium?
Absolutely. So this is a huge concern at Centre Legal during the pandemic. We've seen we just pulled some numbers for the city of Hayward alone. We've seen an 80% increase in calls from tenants experiencing harassment or retaliation or illegal lockouts during the pandemic compared to that same time period the year before. 54% in Oakland is what we've seen as well. So it's real. Tenants out there are struggling and are experiencing harassment and retaliation. There is help available. Alameda County Housing Secure, Oakland Housing Secure are two collaboratives of legal service providers. We have a network of tenant advocates and attorneys who are here and available to help. Bay Area Legal Aid, Centre Legal, Eviction Defense Center, Apilo, Housing and Economic Rights Advocates, we all have a partnership under these programs, and we have an internal referral service. So if you contact any of our organizations and maybe we're not the exact right fit for you, we can do an internal referral for that client to the organization that is the right fit to make sure that everybody's needs are met. We want to be there. We don't want folks to preemptively move out or to have to experience harassment on a day-to-day level. And that is what our organizations are doing each and every day right now, is advising tenants all day as to how to handle these matters. So again, I would say all the information is for all these legal service providers and how to access services will also be on the ac-housingsecure.org website that will come up tomorrow, as well as FAQs about the moratorium and additional information about tenants' rights.
Fantastic. The next question is, how can a client find out if their landlord has waived the 20% rent owed? And I guess I should direct that question to Monique.
I'm happy to answer, although in the soft launch period, we'll be operating under the federal guidelines, which means we'll be paying out 100% of the rent. I would imagine once we pivot, it's going to be, we have to contact the tenant for every application. So there will be back and forth communication. It won't be that a landlord can apply and the tenant never knows about it or is never contacted or there's never any touch on the tenant side. So the tenant will be informed and part of the process. Is what I can say to that. I don't know, Robert, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. As soon as we make that switch over to the state funding, then we'll be in contact with the applicant and the tenant and the landlord to make sure they know all those details.
Fantastic. And I think this answers a number of questions just in general, where people are trying to understand the logistics and how this will work. And it does appear as though this is going to be a highly participatory process, requiring everyone to get on the same page and communicate, and that there will be back and forth communication by all of the parties that are administering these funds. So looking forward to that. Another question is, where can nonprofit organizations go to apply for the small grants to get the word out?
So the RFI will be released. I think today was the goal, but it may be tomorrow. And I know Nick Draper from HCD is on the call, so I don't know if you have additional information about how folks will be able to access that, but it will be released by tomorrow, is my understanding.
Great. There is a question, it's appearing to come from Oakland, but I think it's a general concern across the board in regards to clients not being tech savvy and needing face-to-face assistance. Can each of you all speak a little bit about what opportunities, and some of this might be a repeat of earlier statements, but just an opportunity for everyone to hear again how face-to-face assistance will be provided. And I'll start with Cookie.
Sorry. So the city is contracting out with our partners, BACS, Central Eviction Defense Center, Catholic Charities of the East Bay. And we are well aware that not everyone is tech savvy. A lot of people do not have computers either, or might not have access, if the library is not open to get to a computer. So the partners will be able to take some information online, over the phone, and type it in for the client and do it that way. I know that there was some discussion of some doing doorstep appointments, of course, with safety precautions. A lot of that is based on what each partner can do. Yeah, Robert, do you want anything or Monique?
Yeah, as far as the Fremont side, as I mentioned before, we are partnering with some nonprofit agencies to help us with that. But we also have a phone number that's part of our contact information, and we will help those that are, having those barriers get the help that they need, and connecting them with those partners.
Agreed, and same process here. Again, like I said, paper applications, one of the goals and what we found effective in the past has been widespread dissemination of paper applications to providers who are meeting with people already in medical settings, food pantry settings, et cetera. Also taking phone-based applications. And then also the goal, I think, of the part of the, I won't speak for the county, but one of the goals in the RFI process to bring on the outreach providers is to make sure that we have a network across the county of a variety of different organizations who are already working with hard to reach communities, and maybe operating in person, by phone, in a variety of different methods to make sure there's multiple access points and methods of access.
Thank you. There is a question seeking clarification in regards to, are all of these programs pending board approval today? And I think, I'll allow Monique to answer, but it appears, I'll answer. It is just for the Alameda County program. The other programs in City of Oakland as well as Fremont are different jurisdictions that will launch, both of which have indicated start dates on or about April 1st. Robert, this question is for you. Robert, can you let us know which agencies will help clients to apply? And I think you just stated it a few minutes ago, but this question keeps coming up, so I want to make sure that folks have an opportunity to hear again.
Yeah, hopefully we can say that soon. For right now, just to check back on our website for the most up-to-date information. But as we get new documents and new information, we'll post it on there.
Thank you. Monique, the question is asked in terms of trying to reach Central Legal for questions. Should they just call the general number, or is there a different number that will be provided for this purpose?
So the county will be partnering with 211 to answer tenant questions, and then 211, I feel like Allison maybe should speak to this, can speak a little more to it. 211 will have FAQs and will have the information necessary to triage tenant questions, and then we'll forward questions or tenant calls to Central Legal if there's a tenant in need of additional assistance until the additional CBOs have been contracted and onboarded to do direct tenant assistance.
Great.
So I guess 211 or go to the website ac-housingsecure.org tomorrow.
Yes, sounds great. There is a question in regards to, can people who are receiving subsidies apply for back rent assistance? And I see, Robert, you're shaking your head. Would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Other folks that are receiving subsidies can definitely receive additional assistance. That goes the same for folks that receive CDBG cares in the beginning. They can apply for this assistance. We will, because we ran our own program for CDBG cares, we will be making sure that there isn't a duplication of benefits there. But yeah, for most everybody that's receiving assistance, we can help out.
And I think that's across the board. There are questions about locations outside of Fremont and Oakland, San Leandro, et cetera, Berkeley. And I'll just indicate that individuals in these other areas can apply to the county program for support. The next question is, would requesting, and I apologize if I get this wrong, Cardia services be considered double dipping? I don't know if anyone is aware. Cookie, are you familiar? Okay. Or am I to say the acronym CARDEA? Either way, we'll think on that, and if there are answers or if other folks know the answer to that, please share and we will move on. How many months could someone qualify in total?
I believe the maximum amount is 12 months under the old one, but I do believe in this new Congress Act, it extends it to 17 months. Is that correct, Monique?
I thought it was 15.
Or 15.
12 months back
Right.
rent, 3 months future rent is my understanding. So
Right,
15.
12 months, yes.
15, that's right, 15.
I think that Cardia was supposed to be CARES. If someone received funds through the CARES Act, would that be double dipping?
So a tenant, if they've received assistance under CARES Act funding, can still apply. However, we can't duplicate months. As long as the months are not overlapping, then they're still eligible.
Okay. All right, everyone. Yes, there will be hard copies of this program available. Today's session has been recorded, and we will be sending out this material to everyone who registered, as well as inviting you to go to EveryOne Homes website, where we will upload this information. There is a slide that we are going to show as well that will provide the email addresses as well as website information for the partners that have joined us today. I believe, Dorcas, thank you. And so on this screen, as you can see, and we'll leave this up for a while so that folks can take screenshots or photos or jot down this information. This is the contact information for Alameda County, for City of Fremont and City of Oakland. And at the bottom, you have the social media handles for EveryOne Home. There is a question that has come up in regards to why tenants or landlords have to apply separately for SB 91. And is there anyone who would answer that question for us? Monique?
Sorry, the question is, why would a tenant choose to apply to both programs?
Or why do you even have to apply separately? And this is the logistics question, right? And even the eligibility, the considerations for both programs are different. But I think the general consensus or question is, why can't I just submit one application? Why do I have to do two?
I don't think that a tenant or a landlord has to submit two applications. I think if I was a tenant in Oakland, for instance, and I knew the state was operating a parallel program, I might apply to both to hedge my bets, but I don't think it's necessary or required that a tenant apply to both programs. I don't know, Cookie, if you have anything else to add to that.
No, that was a good answer. I do want to add that I saw in the chat that someone had asked, I can't remember the question, something about immigrant status.
Yes, and it was answered by another peer.
Okay, all right.
But yes, I think, Cookie, this is a great opportunity to answer that question for the public.
So no, there's not a question about immigration status. So that is not an issue.
Great.
Undocumented folks are eligible to apply, and we will not be asking for any type of verification of citizenship.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. There is a question in regards to, can independent living homes apply for tenants who owe back rent? That's an interesting question, one that I think we'll jot down and try to think through. Of course, the programs are figuring it out as we go along, but Monique?
I would suggest apply, and that's something we can work through, and we can figure it out on an individual case-by-case basis, depending on what the nature of the tenancy is, et cetera. So I would encourage folks to try to apply and then let us figure it out after.
Yes.
Or to reach out if you have, a number of applications that you are interested in determining before you actually go through all the work to gather them together. You can reach out, and we're happy to explore that with you.
Fantastic. I think there's another question in regards to if you had back rent and you no longer live somewhere, if you moved out, is there any assistance for individuals who fall in that category? And I don't know, Cookie, do you have an answer to this, or Robert?
Is that they moved out and they moved to another place, but they still owe the rent where they no longer live?
Yes.
I think that they need to, and help me out, Monique and Robert, that they need to be residing in the same dwelling. Is that correct?
That's my understanding as well, that would not be a covered or eligible expense.
Yeah, same here.
Thank you. This is a question directed to Oakland. What's the easiest way to access the documentation requirements? Folks want to start gathering as much information as they can today so that they're ready when the launch happens on April 1st.
Yeah, that's a good question. The portal should be, we just had this discussion yesterday, it should be ready soon, any day, but I think you're gonna have to wait till April 1st. I'm gonna go with that date. At the beginning of the application, it tells you what documents, I think it's on the first page, it tells you what documents you will be needing to upload. And they should start gathering on the application. You can actually start the application, leave the application, and then come back to it. Yeah. Anything else, Monique?
No, this same question has been asked for Fremont as well as I'm certain Alameda County, which the website, you could mention that again, Monique.
We're all using the same application portal, so it's the same answer.
Oh, well, the county's program is a different application portal. Yeah, but I think that in general, you know, the requirements are going to be pretty similar in terms of documentation. And, you know, it may look like a really long list, but it's really ID, proof of tenancy and amount of back rent owed, proof of income and proof of COVID-related financial hardship. Those are going to be your four main things that we're going to be looking for from tenants. And there'll be some documents that might serve more than one purpose in verification. So it may not even be that you're submitting, you know, numerous documents. But those are generally the four areas of documentation we're looking for from tenants. From a landlord, we're looking for a W-9, proof of ownership, and a verification of the amount of rent owed as well, typically. So that gives you a general sense of what we're looking for. But again, that will be on the website. Sorry.
I also want, you know, for folks to not to be discouraged when they look at the application. It may look like a lot, but what we're really trying to do is to help those who really need to be helped. And so that is why we're trying to prioritize, is by asking questions. And so not to be intimidated by the questions. We're just trying to help.
And that same information is also located on Fremont's website that's up now. And we will be adding a documentation checklist as soon as that's finalized. I think I saw that question in the chat.
Yes, fantastic. I guess, are there any last remarks or comments that you all would like to make? And I'll go around and allow each of you an opportunity to do that. I want to remind everyone who joined us that we will be sending this material out to everyone and have it available in all of our social media platforms to ensure that you have access. And I'll start with Monique.
I just want to thank you for this opportunity to share information. We encourage folks to reach out to us throughout this process. If you are working with clients and engaging in the process and notice that there could be room for improvement or you have feedback, please do reach out to us, because this, I'm sure, will be an iterative process, and we look forward to partnering with everybody to provide this much needed relief.
Thank you. Robert?
Yeah, I just want to echo Monique's statements and say thank you for this opportunity. We're trying to get the word out to as many people as we can, to all our communities that, you know, that we have hard time reaching and getting them the assistance they really need. So thank you all for your help.
Thank you. And Cookie?
Ditto, but I do want to say if any of those folks that are online who would like us to speak to, you know, via Zoom to present to any of their groups, to their staff, any of their community meetings, to do send me an email. We'll be happy to do that. Again, we just want to reach those who really need it, and that we do have access to other languages. I speak Spanish. And so we want to be sensitive to those who English is not their first language as well.
Thank you so much. And so there are questions about other locations. I just want to remind everyone that the Alameda County program is the program that you can look to if you are in a location outside of Oakland or Fremont trying to obtain assistance. And for the last few minutes of this presentation, we are just going to, of course, thank everyone. We're going to show the information slides. Thank you on behalf of everyone home and our team and on behalf of our entire community for everything that each of you all are doing to really support our community during this time. We will have everyone home plug here. We have an event tomorrow that we welcome you to join us as we work through revising our governance, our continuum of care in our community, an opportunity to weigh in terms of how we can better serve and connect in a meaningful way as we continue to serve our community. And so there's an opportunity to RSVP. This link will be included in the information that we provide as well. And we will just go back to the information slide that has contact information for everyone. And again, information from this session will be sent out to all who were included in RSVP. Thank you so much again to Alameda County, to Central, Monique, City of Fremont, Robert, and City of Oakland, Cookie, for sharing this fantastic information. We look forward to launching these programs and getting the support out the door as quickly as possible.
One last shout out to Joanne Parchwich. I saw that she was responding to a lot of the chat's questions. So thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. All right, everyone, stay safe and be well.
Thank you.